Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on Maida. Today we're just going to go straight into a voiceover as the video is already quite long and I have been really sick, so it is the best option for this video. So here we're just jumping straight into grooming Maida. I like to do this, it helps prep them for the future, and you know, because before you tack up and everything, you groom, plus it's really nice, and also it is a very good way of finding out where on their body they are comfortable being touched and handled and where they are still needing help. So I'm just starting off his neck and head. He's really good about those parts, has no problem. In fact, he likes a good scratch behind the ears. He's really good on his head, he's quite affectionate around that area. And so I started brushing around his girth area and he was quite flinchy, so I just want to go over it. You can't really see it on the camera, but his skin in the girth area was just like, you know how it flinches like when a fly lands on it. So that just shows me he's not comfortable. You can tell by his body language too that he's a little bit unsure about it, so just to make it less invasive, I stop using the brush and I use my hand until he settles. So that's good. We move on down to the legs. Unfortunately, Maida thinks that every time his legs are touched that it is me asking to pick them up off the ground. So just working on him actually just leaving them on the ground. Just as it's unsafe if every time you're around a horse's legs they're flinging them up, as I don't know about you guys, but I like my teeth where they are. So just working on his leg. I think he found again the brush was just a little bit too much, so I did just start using my hand, just rubbing up and down until he's settled, which I have conveniently put myself in the way of. But anyway, so I start down the back end. He's really not good with his rear legs. He's fine to put a cover on with back straps and things, but again below the lower half of his leg, he is not exactly sure about being touched, and you can see here he's giving me some warnings, kicking out, and then he sort of pulls it towards me. So I just do a little bit more to see if he would settle. I try use my hand, which doesn't work, so I do go and get a broom. Now show your horse the broom to start off in an area that they are fine with, just to make sure that they're okay, and then make your way down to the, I guess, the sensitive area, which in this case is his back leg. Make sure your broom as well is a soft bristled broom. You don't want to use one of those stiff yard brooms that are going to not feel very nice. So anyway, starting just the same as I would with my hand and a brush, or even my hand, just getting him used to that touch. It just means that I'm at a safer distance if he does start getting aggressive with his kicking. It just means that, you know, we're going to minimize the chance of injury for me, and it achieves exactly the same result. So I do notice that he is okay with the outside part being touched, but his inner leg he's really not sure about. Also really important to give them time to think about what you're doing, so just come away, take all the pressure off them, and just see if they are going to have a chew. So you can see here he's really just getting quite antsy, so he tries to walk away and he's kicking out. This is exactly why I use the broom. No big deal, it is what it is, just work through it with them. So I pull him back up, he does settle after that, and I just hold the brush and, you know, just work with him, give him time to think, and go back to an area where he's happy with scratches, and he quite enjoys a head scratch, so that's quite a, you know, it's a reward for him. And then just again approach and then retreat, and his reward again, head scratch. So start off at the top where he's comfortable, make your way down. So he didn't like it that time, and then retreat because he left it on the ground. Right, but you can still tell by his body, I mean his tail, his head, his neck. He's not happy about it, but he is now starting to tolerate it, and every time we work on this, he will just get better and better. He's not going to be perfect off the first time, so don't expect that from your horse. We're just looking for even 1% better than what we started with. So that was really good. He allowed me to brush him without picking up his leg. So moving on to the next side of his body, exactly the same thing. Start off touching and grooming where, finding out where they're comfortable. So I know he's happy around his neck and shoulders, so I start there and make my way back. Doing the exact same thing as I did on the side before, because it's super important to do both sides of your horse. So he was really good on this side. This is his good side. So he didn't have any girth flinches, which is nice. Again, his legs. So I do a mixture of my hand and then make my way down slowly, pushing that threshold. And then approach and retreat back to the area where he is comfortable, which is above the knee. And he was really good, so I leave it with that. And then we start approaching the back. Now again, just making my way down from the areas that he's comfortable, finding that threshold. And you can see here, he tilts his hip into me. That was my first warning that he wasn't happy. So again, I just do a little bit of rubbing my hand on the area just so he doesn't think that tilting his hip in released the pressure. And then I go and get my handy dandy broom just to keep myself safe. Again, it's new side of the horse, so let him see it, start on an area that he's happy with and make my way down. So he's fine with that area, he's okay with the outside, it's just the inner parts of his leg. But lots of approach and retreat, just to reward him. So you see he's been quite tolerant there. Even allows me to do it on the other side. Like I said, this is his good side, so no need to continue going over that. So now we are with Maida for the first time in the arena. He's not been in here before, he's not done any work in here before. This is the first time as well that I have done proper groundwork with him, other than that little episode on his first week with us that he decided to try and tank off with me down the road. There was a lot going on this day as well. It was really cold and windy, and my daughter's pony was running around in the background, so keep that in mind. It just shows you how good this horse actually is. So I think he's pretty special. Anyway, I just start off sending him out in a lunge. You can see he's quite sticky, not really keen on going forward. So I just keep asking, keeping that pressure and taking it away from him when he does what we're asking. So again, he gets sticky. So just behind my camera is actually the gate out of the arena, so that normally is a stopping point for horses, because obviously they're trying to go out of the arena. But that's okay, so we keep working with him. He's getting better, so I just get him moving freely before anything else, and then I ask for a stop, and he was really good with this stop, and you can see he's having a big think and a chew. With Maida, he likes to walk over people, so keeping him out of my space is really important. So when he came forward just then, you could see I asked him to back out. So again, doing it on the other side, very important to do both sides of your horse. Just because you do something on one side doesn't mean that they're going to understand on the other. So just think of your horse like it's got two brains, and those two brains operate one side of the body. So you see Airy wasn't really keen on going in that direction, so he tried putting me onto the other side, or his other eye. So I just keep asking him to go the way that I have asked him to, and then he figured it out. So asking him to turn and put two eyes on me, which he does really well, and then sending him the other direction. He's even good with all the dogs around his feet. He's such a good boy. You can see in his body he's still quite stiff and sort of not exactly happy about what I'm asking him to do. But I mean, he is doing it, and he stopped beautifully that time, so that was good. He has another think and a chew, so that's really good. He is a very bright horse, this one. So I send him off again. And don't think that when you send your horse off that they have to run off straight away. It is nice to actually walk them in a lunge, especially when they do what you've asked them to do straight away. So you see there, sorry, he tried putting me again on his other eye. He doesn't like me on this side, so I just kept asking by waving the rope. Didn't have to hit him because he's such a sensitive horse. That is more than enough pressure. You don't want to use more pressure than you have to, because the idea is to use as less pressure training your horse as possible. So you start off soft and then you make your way up until that point where they are responding. So you see there again, he tries putting me on the other eye. So this is obviously his bad side, so I do a little bit more work with them on their bad side, because obviously you want to catch them up to the good side. So you see there, he wasn't really paying attention. He was looking to the outside of the circle, and it took him a little while to actually come into me and put two eyes on me for a stop. Sorry, my daughter's pony was going mental, so here's a little clip of him running around, and poor Mater's got this going on in the background, so he's such a good boy. But yeah, this is Cookie. He's lucky he's cute. But anyway, continuing on with Mater, so just sending him off, practicing. Sending him off and bringing him back to a stop and facing me is all my goal is for today. And you see there, he did that perfectly. It's exactly what I wanted, him to keep both eyes on me and yield his hindquarters. So that was excellent, and that's where I'm going to finish this lesson on, because that was just perfect. He's a good boy. Lots of love. Now, to put a finish to the lunging, I like to walk them off before I start the next stage. Just sort of adds that mental finish of lunging. You're not going straight from lunging into something else. Just kind of makes it a bit clearer to them that we're now starting something different. Excuse my coughing and my voice, honestly. It's been the worst cold ever. So I like to desensitize them to my tools, which in this case is my whip. I don't want them thinking that every time they see a whip they have to move their feet. So he's a quick thinker, he's starting to chew already. He's a really good boy. So I just keep going. You can see there, he's, oh, what do I do? He's a bit unsure. Allow them to move around as well, because that's how they're going to figure it out for themselves. What you're asking is how they work through problems, but do not let them walk over top of you. Like I said, Maida is quite bad at this, so you will see a few times that I have to push him back out of my circle, but that's okay. Don't stop what you're doing, just push him out of your circle and keep on with the lesson. Again, important to do both sides of their body, and yeah, lots of rewards in between. You can see I've put my arm up as a block because he likes to walk over me, and he's slowly figuring it out. Oh, crikey. So just going over it, making sure that he's understanding. You see there he goes to walk over me, so just push him back, getting a little bit stiff. And just continuing to go on both sides of his body. Yeah, like I said, this is a really important stage to do after every time you do work with your horse, to allow them to switch off at the end, and it makes for a much calmer horse in the end of your training program. Here I try flicking them around his legs, which he really did not like. Understandable because he is very sensitive. Make sure that when you're doing this you're not actually whipping their legs, just gently tossing it around to wrap. So you can see here he just starts moving around and around. I still keep trying. I then try a few different little ways of getting them around his legs without the flicking, but he just wasn't having a bar of it. So before he really lost the plot, because sometimes they do, they just get into a mindset that there's nothing you can do to get it across to them. So you can see here I'm trying a few different things, but that's okay. So instead of stressing him out and continuing with something that he's clearly not going to understand anytime soon, I just take him back to the step before and work on that a little bit more, which is making him understand that I want him to stand there when I'm moving the rope around him like this. So yeah, anyway, he's still not keen. Stands on it, bless him, he stops, he doesn't freak out. I have to push him off. You can see here he's really just not even paying attention to me anymore, which just shows you where his mind's at. So yeah. So he goes to walk over me, so I push him back. So he's not allowed to ever do that. Especially with a horse like Maida, who already thinks that that's okay. It's not okay, so I just keep reminding him every time he does try it that he's not allowed to, by pushing him back out of my space. He's allowed to move around me, but he's not allowed to move over the top of me. So yeah, you can see he's just starting to get to a point now where it's just not going so well. So I go back to waving the rope, and you can just see here he explodes, and that just shows you the mindset that he got himself into. So I keep just doing it, let him figure it out. Horses moving their feet is how they sort of work through a problem, activates their thinking brain. And you can see here he finally clicks on. So I bring him forward because he was hanging back on the halter, and just continue with building that first stage back up. So you can see here, he kept trying to put me on the other side of his head to put me on the eye that he likes me on. So I just put my hand up as a block to stop him from doing that, because it is all just part of a horse sort of bossing you around a little bit, I suppose. I don't know what the right word is right now. Is, like I said, I am absolute brain mush. But anyway, so I get him to relax again, just going over what he already sort of knew from doing it before. And no big deal that we didn't get the legs done. It is what it is sometimes with training horses. You go back a stage, you work on that foundation better, and then, you know, hopefully the next time you can work through them to the next a bit better. So just going over, really making sure he understood the assignment. You can see he starts to relax a little bit here. He's blinking, his head's lowering. Both sides again, keeping me on that eye. So you saw a little bit there that he tried to turn his head. He reacts a little bit, but he comes back very fast. So just touching him now on his body where he is comfortable. He doesn't mind his body being touched. He doesn't like his legs being touched. So this is just building that foundation for the next step, just helping him sort of build that bridge between what I'm actually asking of him. So yeah, really important. So again, both sides of his body. Always want to do it on both sides. I know I go on about it all the time, but it is just so important to work them on both sides of their body. So yeah, that is a good spot to leave it. He's now relaxed, he's allowing that to happen, and we are happy. That is a good note to finish his lesson on for his first time. So here is a little video I thought I'd put in of Maida leading out of the paddock. It could be a bit of a llama on the end of the halter, so all these exercises will be helping him. Yeah, a little photo of his condition. He's doing really well for a horse that's in a new environment. Some carrots. Not sure if he's had these before, but didn't seem to mind them. Which is quite cute. Here he's like, oh, that's a bit funny, but I kind of like it. Anyway. But here we are, the second lesson of groundwork with Maida. So just rubbing him down with the whip again, making sure he's not afraid of it. Because that's the last thing I want, is my horse to be scared of anything that I'm using to help train. He came forward, so I'm just pushing him back out. She doesn't really do that well, and then that time he got it. So just going over what we learnt the lesson before, sending him off, and then stopping him to face two eyes on me and pivot the rear around, just for seeing what he remembers and what he learnt, and see if we can fine tune anything and begin the next stage. So he's a lot better. I mean, you can already see that he's just a million times better. I mean, look at that turn, that was perfect. Just asking him, so he's a bit stiff still, but that's okay. That's exactly what it's all about today. He ran himself into the poles here, decided to throw a little tantrum. That's alright. Had to get it out of his system. So just making him go around the poles, and then bringing him back, and then yielding him. So every time I yield him to look at me and pivot his bum away. It does actually help with their halter softness, you know, their softness to the halter. So hopefully we'll start helping him lead a bit better as well. So another little tanty, that's alright, he worked through it a lot quicker. Hello Papa. Sorry, I've got my little baby with me at the moment, if you can hear her in the background. But yeah, just going over everything we learnt the day, or not the day before, a couple days before my last lesson. So he's a lot better now. This is where I start introducing the game, where he just pivots, turns and heads in the other direction. It's really good to keep them focused on you, rather than just thinking that they're walking around in circles and shutting off. Because let's be honest, we all would if we were made to go around and around and around in a circle. I don't think lunging should be used as that, and not for too long either, because it is hard on their bodies. It is really a handy tool as well when you're introducing side reins and things. But yeah, so we're just playing a little game here. You can see here I'm asking him to go off in the other direction straight away, and he's not really listening, so this is just going to help him with that. Yeah. So I'm ending it on that note, as he did everything I asked him to do, which is good. And then just doing the desensitizing part now. So again, Maida tries to walk over the top of me, so I just push him back, and again, just until he stands there and doesn't keep trying to come forward. And I'm just continuing with desensitizing him to the rope swinging. Just waiting until he stands and then giving him his reward. Just doing it again to make sure that he's still going to stand and accept it. Then the third time he likes to go around. This is normally why I sort of like to do 3 times on one side, or 3 times of everything, just to really make sure that they understood and have a clear understanding of what it is we're trying to teach them. 3 seems to be like a really good number for horses, and so you could see there just before he stood twice, and then the third time he ran off again. So just going back over it, you can tell by the head flicking as well, that's still a reaction, and the end result is for him to stand there very, very calmly without doing any sort of reacting like that. But obviously, like I says, we're not expecting perfection, just 1% better is the main goal, so don't set your expectations too high. So I was happy obviously with what we finished it on, starting on the other side. He was good. You can still see by his head raising that he's still not 100%, but he's keeping his feet still, and he does start to drop it here a little bit, so that's good. So going over, and that's exactly what we want. We want his feet, to stay still, and that's all I am aiming for on this particular day. So happy, ended it on that. Now I'm just starting with the rope flicking up onto his body, and you can see already just from going back that last lesson and taking him back to build a better building block, stepping block, how good he is today about the rope being around his legs. What a huge improvement already, and I haven't done anything with him between the 2 lessons that were filmed, so yeah, he is just such a bright cookie, this one. Really good horse. Just letting him have that little time there to have a think and a chew. Just had a big plane fly over the top of us. And as you can see as well, it's another windy day. There's kids riding ponies around in the background. So he's quite a chilled horse naturally. He's, you know, not too bothered about what's happening around him. Some horses would feed off that energy happening around behind them. He doesn't seem to be that type. So just going over his body where he's comfortable and then doing the legs, and he is just amazing today. Again, doing it on both sides, but we finish it on that because that was just perfect. So I break the lesson, take him for a walk, lets them have a little time to digest what we've just done, and I walk him over these poles just because earlier on in the lesson he ran himself into them and freaked out. Well, you saw he took off backwards and stuff. So I just thought I'd introduce them to him. He was really funny. He left his back feet at the first pole. It sort of didn't really understand, but then figured it out. So I let him have time to think and reward him, and then I take him back over, and he does it perfectly this time. So yeah, that is his end of his lesson for that day. Short and sweet. Went over everything. Did just a tiny little bit more fine tuning, so really happy, no need to continue on. Now this is just the second time pulling him out to groom. You can see I've got my broom there ready to go. So I start off the same way. Grab my brush and start off his neck and shoulders where he's comfortable. And his head, he likes his head. Just really gentle around his eyes and bony areas on his face, obviously. You don't want to hurt them. And yeah, so just the same scenario, working my way down and back over his body. Be careful with his back, although there are some scabs starting to lift up, so I just sort of doing my best to gently remove them as much as possible as we go, without knocking over any still healing ones, so you don't want to rip them off his skin. Starting down his legs and his girth area, same areas that we had issues with last time. As you can see, he's really unbothered by it today, but then again below the leg, below the knee, he is doing the lifting up. So I bought the brush again and I just use my hand, as I think the brush is just still a little bit too much for his sensitiveness. But yeah, so then I do a little bit of mixing with the brush in the hand just so he can start getting used to it, pushing the brush down to his threshold and then doing the rest with my hand, and also doing the other side of his body. So it's good, all good practice. You know, sometimes we're grooming one side and we want to do both feet at the same time or something, so it's just, you know, the more you can expose your horse to, the better. So again, starting off at the top where he's comfortable, keeping my hand on him so I can sort of feel his body movements before they happen, and also keeping myself at a safe distance. Just seeing where I can get to today with my hand. Sorry, a short break of tucking myself in because the wind was so bad. As you can see, it's always a windy day up there. So then I just go and get the broom, show it to him again. Not just going to assume that because he was fine with it last time, that this time he's going to be the same. So just letting him have a sniff, and introducing his front legs to brushing, why not, and then starting down on the back end. So yeah, making my way down, and you know, you can already see that today he's just huge improvement from last time. He is still a little bit kicky, but nothing as bad as what he was. So yeah, just keep working with him. He did at one point manage to pull the broom out of my hand, which is no big deal, doesn't really matter. But yeah, just try and keep the brush with him while he's kicking up his feet. So yeah, just staying with him as much as possible while he's got his feet in the air, because I want him to learn that he gets the release of pressure except for that time when his feet are back on the ground. But yeah, so starting again. So that part there, he began to lift it up, so I sort of stopped to see if he would settle, and he continued, and then he put it back down after a little while, so that was really good. Didn't put much energy into trying to get rid of the broom, and you can see here now he's just sort of accepting the fact that it's got to keep his foot on the ground, and that's the easiest thing to do. Lots of rewards. You can see he really likes an ear scratch. And going back and just going over it, just making sure he's comfortable. Lots of approach and retreat. And then again on the inside of his leg he's not exactly happy about, so I just keep it there to try and go with him, and then took it away before he had a chance to put it back up, just to try and help him build that bridge to knowing what to do and what it is exactly that we're asking of him. Sometimes it's nice to help him out. So yeah, that was good. Left it on the ground even though I was rubbing the broom up and down his inner leg, which we know he doesn't like as much. Just going over it, just making sure that he is finishing on a good note. You can tell by his tail, and you know he's still not happy about it, but like I says, we're not expecting perfection, we're just expecting even just 1% better than the time before. So he's been really good about it now. His expression in his face has even relaxed a little bit, starting to take his focus off what I'm doing and sort of back out to the surroundings and softening up a little bit. So that was a really good place to leave that side on for this lesson. Sorry if I'm not making any sense today, guys, honestly. I just, you know what it's like when you've sort of got a head cold, you just feel like a blockhead, a bit of a Lego. So yeah, I appreciate if you're still watching the video and stuck with me, because I know I am not exactly making the best sense. Yeah, so again, the same thing on the other side of his body, just breaking up some of those loose scabs on his back. And then I'll do exactly the same thing I did on the other side and find a good spot to finish it on. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video today. Sorry about it being 2 weeks since the last one, but the weather has just really not been playing ball, and then on top of it we've had this nasty cold come through our family, so it's just been one of those times that it's just life happens, but that's okay. Fingers crossed we start getting some more summery days and we can start making some more content, and I will actually make sense when I'm doing these voiceovers. Let me know if you prefer these sort of voiceovers instead. It's just I thought it would be a lot nicer listening to it rather than hearing the wind noise and me trying to talk over the wind, because yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I don't find that exactly pleasant to listen to. But yeah, you can see Mate is accepting it now a lot better. He's not as bad on this side. This is his good side again. He's a good boy. Does a good job. So find a good spot to finish it on